Now we're going to actually look a bit on what has happened over the past year. And for this, I would like to bring also Catherine on, who's going to co-moderate this session with me. Hey, Catherine, how are you doing?
Great. Hi, everyone.
So good to
Great
see
to
you.
be joining us for the event. Yeah, exciting. Some of you guys may recognize my voice. That's because I'm the co-host of Battery Revolution. I know a lot of the audience here have actually joined us for the sessions, but it's the first time hearing about this, you can actually check out some of our previous episodes on Apple Podcast and Spotify. So thank you, everyone. Great to have everyone here. As mentioned by Simon, I'm Catherine, co-host of Battery Revolution. It's been great 36 weeks on Battery Revolution on Clubhouse. And some of you might have heard the story of how Simon and I met on Clubhouse and decided to start running a club. And the spirit is exactly the same spirit as Battery Associates, how it started last year, stemming from Battery Day. So with that, we hope you make great connections, amazing network through this event, and do stay tuned and stay for the networking session. So great that we have a great panel of speakers joining us today. And we're very excited to also have some of our regular speakers at Battery Revolution joining us today as well. So we've covered a wide range of topics on our Clubhouse sessions, ranging from battery recycling, supply chain, EVs, battery policy, etc. Throughout the last 36 weeks, we have summarized all that's happened in a year, basically in the form of a timeline. And we'll be sharing with everyone the timeline and some of the most exciting news in the industry for the past year. So here we go. Here's a video of a year in batteries.
Sorry, maybe the video will come in a second. I think it's just getting set up ready. Okay, then one more side, and that's maybe one thing, also a reminder, there always going to be some small glitches, but I think we have it ready in 1 second. And also maybe just one thing, even though these events are online, they always have some challenges. So please bear with us if anything like this happens today. Okay, thank you very much for being with us. We also got the news that unfortunately some of it got stuck, but please don't worry. This video actually going to be posted as well on LinkedIn today, so you can watch it there and no problem. But yeah, that's always a bit of a tech challenge, I think. But even, almost if you would have kind of had known something like this could have happened, we actually also have the same kind of presentation, all the important slides ready for you as well here. So now we can maybe quickly talk about some of them just right after. So we have about 15 minutes now to cover some of these highlights. And if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, for example, what are some of the highlights you feel might be missing, something we should be adding. We know we have an incredible team who looked at hundreds and hundreds of updates, but I'm sure something is missing, and that's not kind of to be said that these are not important news. Of course, there's many more important news, but yeah, some of them made it into our review, and I would love to have your comments, your thoughts, please in the comments. So if you want to add in the comments, what are the news you might thought are most exciting, either from the ones we showed or also from the ones which we didn't have included. Brilliant. If you can now please bring up the slides. Let's go through it one by one. Perfect. And I think we can start with Catherine for the first one.
Great, perfect. Thanks, Simon. So on 23rd September 2020, exactly a year ago, on Tesla Battery Day, where Tesla unveiled its first of 4680 cell design using a new tabless battery construction method, and also cheaper vehicles, accelerating the adoption of EVs.
Exactly. And that's kind of, as you mentioned earlier, this has been also kind of motivation behind our Battery Day 1 year ago with Battery Associates, which is actually the birth kind of for Battery Associates in some way, because many of us met there, and still a lot of our collaborators and partners and customers come from that day. So very excited to have another one today.
On the 18th of November 2020, UK announced bans on sale of new petrol and diesel cars from 2030 as part of the Prime Minister Boris Johnson's Green Industrial Revolution plan. So as part of his 10-point plan, the intention is to phase out sales of new petrol and diesel cars and vans by 2030 to accelerate the transition to electric vehicles, and investing in grants to help buy cars and charge point infrastructure.
And then we also have the QuantumScape launch of new solid batteries, and there has been a couple of news today, and I think some of the most exciting ones are, of course, kind of all these challenges on how to actually scale up solid state batteries. And there's been some exciting announcements this year from QuantumScape, as well as from other players in this space.
Yep. So on the same line on batteries, Morrow Batteries announced 32 gigawatt-hour lithium-ion battery plant in Norway to rapidly scale up battery cell production in order to meet increasing market demand and lead the drive for more sustainable batteries on 13th January 2021.
Then we see a new BASF battery recycling prototype plant built in Germany, announcement from the 7th of February this year. And of course, this is also really important kind of drive, as you can see now, more also big companies moving into the battery recycling space, because we know, of course, there are going to be many, many batteries coming available for recycling once the electrification of transport really comes to full fruition, and we see the scale up of the sector.
Yep. So on the 15th of March 2021, we have Volkswagen's Power Day. Pretty sure some of you guys have attended the event, and we actually did a Battery Revolution session on that as well. So in Europe alone, Volkswagen announced 6 gigafactories with a total production of capacity of 240 gigawatt-hour are to be established by the end of the decade, and integrating the value chain in which collaboration with suppliers to be intensified to recycle up to 95% of raw materials. On this note, Volkswagen is also vigorously pursuing expansion of the public fast charging network globally, with about 18,000 fast charging points around Europe.
This was also an interesting one from the 16th of March 2021. BYD, the Blade batteries kind of have been announced, and there's been a big thing this year. Blade battery technology, I think this has been quite of interest, and also in connection, of course, to new battery chemistries such as LFP batteries, being really exciting and kind of, I think, create a lot of discussion in lots of companies we have been talking to of kind of new battery form factors as well as chemistries.
On the same vein, in China, on 30th March 2021, we have Xiaomi, the Chinese smartphone vendor, expanding into EVs. And this move rides the wave of China domestic firms running to jump on the bandwagon of the EV trend. So the phone manufacturer is also committed to invest an estimated 10 billion in total for the next decade to develop smart EVs.
And another one, if we go into the air, we have Lilium Aviation, leading electric air mobility company, going public via SPAC, being announced in April, 12th of April 2021. And I think we have seen many SPACs this year, actually. We couldn't put them all in. If you've been following the space, has been quite something, but it's also exciting, different kind of applications, from mobility, from road transport, but also electric vertical takeoff, which is something we also have been discussing quite a lot this year, but also kind of how to make it happen in a safe and a sustainable way.
Yep, so a month later, on 10th May 2021, China approved the National EV Battery Swap Standards, and a standard which is drafted by companies including NIO, Geely, will come into effect on November 1st this year, which will probably be an update in our next year's Battery Day. And the standard specifies safety requirements, test methods, inspection rules for battery swappable EVs.
And this has been something we also have been discussing quite a lot on the podcast and Battery Revolution, the EU Fit for 55 program to get carbon neutrality by 2050 and end of combustion vehicle sales from 2035. So from 2030, about 55% of the new vehicles have to be non-emitting. And this is an update from the 14th of July, 2021. And this, of course, has, I think, set quite a bit of a wave across the industry as well to really realize that they're going to be phase-out times now for combustion engine cars. And I think it's given a really important push also to really electrify and decarbonize the transport sector, as well as setting kind of new guidelines on charging kind of intervals, etc. as well.
So in the same vein on OEMs, new Mercedes-Benz architectures will be electric only from 2025. By 2022, Mercedes-Benz will have battery EVs in all segments of the company. And from 2025 onwards, all newly launched vehicle architectures will be electric only, and customers will be able to choose from electric alternative for every model the company makes.
Yes, and this will be another exciting one. From the 29th of July, 2021, we had the CATL sodium-ion battery launch. And as someone who actually did sodium-ion battery research in the beginning, when I started my career in batteries, that's something very exciting as well. And essentially what this announcement really means is we have now a big battery company, one of the biggest ones, to move into the sector. Before, sodium-ion has been also kind of worked on by quite a few startups, but we haven't really seen one of the really big companies to move into it. And also to say they actually have a timeline to, produce them commercially and to scale them up, which I think has also created lots of discussions on what is, the role of sodium-ion batteries maybe in the future compared to LFP, which is something we also covered in some of our podcasts, but also in our newsletter, Battery Associates newsletter. If you want to read more about it, you can go on battery.associates and get it there.
Yep, so in August, President Biden outlined a target of 50% of EV sales by 2030. And this has an ambitious target to make half of all new vehicles sold in 2030 zero-emission vehicles, which includes battery electric, plug-in hybrid electric, or fuel cell electric vehicles. Also kickstart development of long-term fuel efficiency and emission standards to save consumers money, cut pollution, and basically advance environmental justice in general.
And also, if we now look on the UK side, we actually had to launch on the 19th of August, 2021 for UK Consortium on Solid-State Batteries. And you will see that's also, of course, a panel we also have on this topic later, and the white paper we launched the past week with Battery Associates. But we can really also see this has been quite a year for solid-state batteries, from many announcements, many new players, and quite a lot of interest, also financial interest in the sector. And it's great to see kind of this cross collaboration happening as well here, for example, in the UK.
Yep, so just very recently this year, and this month, StoreDot reveals 4680 cylindrical cells rechargeable in 10 minutes. It's an Israel-based StoreDot. The developer of extreme fast charging battery technology for EVs has demonstrated a prototype 4680 form factor that's fully charged in just under 10 minutes.
Fantastic. And also you can hear actually from their CEO later on one of the panels, Doran. So if you want to ask him any questions, stick around for the third panel. And then also we can see now, if we go into India, also recently announced in this month from Ola, Indian EV manufacturer, to launch a woman-run gigafactory. And I think there's many exciting parts. Looking also on our panels later. One is how can we actually create a global, a global movement, a global battery revolution. And I mean, I'm very excited. Actually, I got the notes. We have now participants from over 40 countries participating in today's event. So we really have a global audience and a global group of participants. But also kind of how can we, increase diversity in the battery sector, and also in kind of all of these exciting companies and all these jobs being created. Something we also have this diversity and training panel later. But it's really exciting from Ola to see that they're really having a big push there with the woman-run gigafactory being announced.
Yep. So today, of course, we have the biggest news in the industry, which is Battery Day powered by Battery Associates. And we're joined by very distinguished guests and speakers from the policy side and leaders from various companies who are doing amazing work and contributing immensely to this industry. So we'll be hearing from them thoughts on the topics ranging from latest policy developments to how technology can build transparency in the supply chain and accelerate adoption of clean energy. So stay tuned for the panel discussions and the deep dives.
Thank you, Catherine. I think so. We have about 5 minutes now till the next, for the first panel will come up, and it's going to be really an exciting one because we bring in lots of different stakeholders together around how to really create sustainable batteries. Talking about things, kind of how to maximize the value and how to also kind of do it in a sustainable way, and also how can we bring in all these different stakeholders together. For example, like the battery passport, one of the concepts we're going to talk about then as well. But before we go there, before we do that, maybe just for you, Catherine, because I know we have met 36 weeks and we've been spending every Saturday really summarizing some of the battery news with our very, very loyal following. So thank you very much, everyone who has been with us for the last many, many weeks and months. Maybe just for you, kind of, if you want to kind of summarize it for your perspective, what kind of year has this been in the world of batteries? If you think about, just kind of thinking back what has happened.
Well, yeah, for me personally, the DSPAC that's been happening is definitely very interesting, and that really shows that all the policy on the policy side and all the money is going to this space, and with the support that's going to this space, we'll definitely see acceleration of better technology, more interesting battery technology coming up. I guess also echoed with what you mentioned earlier about CATL going to more innovative battery space in the sodium-ion. So for me personally, this drives a lot of trends in the market. So I'm looking a lot at that on the financial side. But yeah, I would love to hear from the audience as to what you think has really interested you for the past year. And we have talked about this a lot during some of our Battery Revolution sessions, but would really love to hear your thoughts as to some of the things that we didn't cover, that you think is very interesting that you'd like to share with everyone else. And we'll just read out your comments as we see up here on stage.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm just having a look as well in the comments, and there's some familiar faces such as Roger Atkins, who has been also with us on the podcast before. Very excited to see you here as well. And
yes,
we see many others.
You, Roger.
It's always good to have you, and Mariano and Lajos, and yeah, it's really good. Julia, Daniel, wow, really, really good to see many of you. And yeah, so really stay active and stay around. So we have now one panel coming up in 2 minutes. That's going to be exciting. But then also afterwards, we have a short, quick 10-minute networking break. So this is going to be a chance to already meet some other people. So we want to keep it engaging. We know it's a long day. We don't want to just sit. So hopefully, you can even make it interactive as you wish. And then we have another panel. And then we have some deep dives as well for another half an hour. And then we have an entire hour for networking. So really, we really want to have a lot of time. And there we also have, for maybe the people who booked the VIP ticket, as well as the speakers, you actually then have a special VIP session as well. If you want to go there and meet some other VIPs in the session, and in the session slot, you will see there's a VIP session which only you can access, not everyone else. But everyone else can also use the networking function, which is a bit like a chat roulette kind of style, but only with battery enthusiasts. So the best kind you could imagine, and that's a really nice way to get to know many of you. And this is really an effective way to get to know many other people. So I really can encourage that. Brilliant. So I think we're almost at time how to exactly come to the next panel, how to maximize the value of batteries. And maybe we can already kind of show a slide now of all the speakers who are going to be on there, so that we can have a bit of an overlook before we bring them all up in a second. And also I should say one big thank you actually, and before we forget, for Legacy Events, who's our event agency for today. And Tim is in the background doing some amazing job for all of us to walk us through all of this. So thanks so much for being in the background and really helping us, an entire legacy events agency, to help us a lot over the last weeks to get this all moving.